Welcome to the Recovering Perfectionist Podcast, where I empower you to develop sustainable habits, challenge society, and take messy action. I'm Christine, life balance coach and world champion ballroom dancer, and I believe that everyone has the power to create their very own life by design. The Recovering Perfectionist Podcast was created with a mission to encourage a life of abundance by finding peace and acceptance in our own imperfections and developing healthy self-love through sustainable habits and manifestation. It's time to align with the universe for the full human experience and redefine what it really means to be successful.
It's too good, the secret is out and wow.
Welcome back to another episode of the Recovering Perfectionist Podcast. I'm so excited to be here with an amazing woman that I resonate with so much on social media. And I know I would in real life, but we live on opposite sides of the country. Her name is Jordan Hector. She is a holistic health coach and spin instructor. And I cannot wait for you guys to hear this woman speak. Jordan, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. I'm very happy to be here and to talk to you and dive into this.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know that you have a lot going on in your life, as we all do, but I'm very excited today to be discussing a few things that I think just are not really widely talked about unless you're like really truly listening to, the deep, real podcasts. Is just kind of how we're showing up on social media and all of the things that are really affecting, like, I know recently you've moved to another state, you had COVID, right? Recently.
Yeah.
All the things. And you're just, we actually met going through the same certification program. Which has been awesome. But, also it's just like navigating that new us and that new business and that new, how we show up in the world. And that's a mind shift in and of itself, let alone 100%. Everything else going on in the world.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit first, if you want to just do kind of like an introduction about you, maybe kind of like how you got started in all of this. And kind of like where you're from and where you live now, like since we talked about the move.
Yeah. Let's start with that. So we met through this manifestation business course. So I would say, just like a little backstory, I started investing in my personal development and my mindset and really investing in myself about a year ago when I graduated college. I'm originally from San Diego, grew up there, and went to college at University of Washington in Seattle, was there for 4 years. Definitely was a roller coaster of a ride. It was the best of times, and it also hit my lowest point there. Graduated June of 2020. So this was all around when COVID first broke out. So that was definitely a mentally challenging time. That's when I started investing in myself and investing in courses, trying to just figure it out. Obviously, COVID has hit us all in one way, shape, or form. And so graduating college and kind of getting out of student mode and into more adult mode, it was definitely challenging. I was living with my mom in San Diego post-graduating, and I at the time also graduated from a holistic health course that I invested in. I was really into health and wellness after going through some ups and downs with eating, body image, that kind of stuff in college. So graduated from UW and graduated from this holistic health coaching course, was living in San Diego, I was furloughed from SoulCycle, working front desk. And I was like, I need to get out of this environment. I'm stagnant. I'm stuck. So called up my grandma who lives in Florida. And I was like, listen, it was around my birthday. So my birthday was actually this weekend. So this was all a year ago. September of 2020, called her and said, listen, I am mentally feeling stagnant, not my best. Can I book a one-way, see where it takes me out to Florida, come do a mini vacation? At the time, the clients I was working with all remote. So it was fine. And I was furloughed once again from SoulCycle. I'm addicted to riding the bike, to SoulCycle. That is like my therapy.
I see you on it all the time. And I'm like, this girl is just dedicated. So it's addicting, isn't it?
It's addicting. And SoulCycle was kind of the start of how I got into spin and riding that stationary bike. It's the music, the movement, the community. So at the time I wasn't doing that. I was like, I have got to get out of here. So went to Florida, booked a one-way. There was no SoulCycle in Florida where my grandma was. However, I did end up finding a studio. And at the time I was just vacationing. So I reached out to the manager and I liked the studio. I liked the energy. And I said, listen, just out of curiosity, are you guys looking for instructors? He said, we actually are. Why don't we start training and see where it takes you? And so I went, basically, this is how I manifested this. I wanted to instruct so badly. I never knew at the time how it was going to happen when I was in San Diego because of COVID. I'm like, no one's going to fitness studios. This is never going to happen. Like, I don't know the timeline. And so manifested, I went through a month and a half of instructor training out in Florida. That led me to become employed there. I ended up moving out there. So I was out there, found a roommate, and found my own place. I actually started teaching at another studio. So I was teaching at 2 studios, really was creating a life for myself.
Wow.
Up until this past month. So then I get an email from SoulCycle while I'm out in Florida asking me if I was interested in SoulCycle. For those who don't know, it's nationwide. It's an amazing spin company. It is very well known. And so I got an email basically asking if I'm interested in possibly going through their instructor training program, which is a 6-week program out in New York City. And so I did multiple rounds of auditions and interviews. This was, I want to say, all of June of 2021, found out beginning of July that I got accepted into their instructor training program. That was supposed to start end of July. I'm wrapping this up. So I basically had a week and a half to get my ass out to New York City for this instructor training program. I immediately found someone to cover my lease. I sold all my furniture. I put in my 2 weeks, my week and a half at both of my studios that I was teaching at, which was for me. So that's like where it all started and how my teaching and my coaching started. And then at the time working remotely with my health coaching clients. So that was fine. Dropped everything 2 days before my flight out to New York City for training. I get a phone call. It starts off, this is not going to be an easy phone call. I thought I was getting dropped from the group. There's 13 of us in this group, basically because of the Delta variant and COVID and everything going on, obviously, in the world. They need to do more monitoring with riders and how they respond to the Delta variant and COVID. And basically training can't start July 26th, which was that date. So I blacked out on that phone call thinking, I literally just gave up my life in Florida, which was going extremely well,
Right.
for this next level up, this next move, of like where I want to go in my career. SoulCycle is the next step. So I had 2 options at that point. I could try and rebuild my life in Florida, right? And find a place to live. And, I do have some family there and try and get my jobs back. And it's messy, right? It's all really messy. Or I can come out to New York. I have a living situation, and I could just figure it out. And I really felt like I closed so many doors in Florida already. And I closed that chapter, and something in my gut was saying, get a little uncomfortable and just go to New York. Like, you have a living situation, you'll figure it out.
Right.
It's not permanent. So I came out to New York. This is very long, but I'm wrapping it up, I promise.
No
Came out to New York a month ago. So right now it's September 7th. I came out end of July, beginning of August, and started working part-time studio crew at SoulCycle. That way I can ride and take class at all the studios in New York. And I was doing my health coaching part-time and staying at a family member's apartment. 2.5 weeks into my time here, I got COVID. It hit me terribly. Like, very depressed, very down. It was a very rough time. And then obviously in my head of like, what am I doing out here? I'm not in training. What are the next steps? And long story short, I also had to move out of the place that I was in. Someone was coming to rent it. So this past weekend, I've moved to a new location only for a month. I'm training. There are no updates because of everything still going on. And I'm at this point in my life of just taking it hour by hour, day by day in New York City. And that's where I'm at.
That's amazing. You know, here's the thing. We need to start celebrating people who are just doing hard things, you know, and celebrating ourselves for doing hard things. And I think, you know, a couple of days ago, you posted some raw videos on social media about, you know, just like you said, just some kind of video diaries that you have on your phone that you've been keeping track for yourself that were never meant to be posted. And you feel like now is the time. Why did you feel like it was the time to post something like that?
Yeah, I mean, social media and Instagram especially, I feel like that's where it is such a highlight reel, and it has been, but people are posting the best of the best. It's a very curated feed for depending on who you follow. And it's very easy. I know, especially you know, being, how old are you, by the way?
I'm 31.
31. Okay. Whether 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, I know people, we're constantly in comparison mode and comparing our lives and where we're at and what we look like. And it's just a highlight reel. It's a highlight reel. And it's very easy, once again, to compare what you look like, where you're at, what your lifestyle is. So throughout the past year, as I've been going through my own growth and kind of shedding these old layers of feeling the need to look a certain way and show up a certain way, I've found a lot of power and vulnerability and just opening up and showing maybe not my best moments, because people relate so much to that. And I always say, if I can help or support or make someone feel seen in one way, shape, or form, it truly makes my day. And just simply by opening up and sharing your story, there's always going to be that voice in the back of your head saying, well, no one cares, no one's going to listen to this, why are you posting? There's always one person who reaches out and says, I really needed to hear that. And it's that message that honestly makes me want to continue, because deep down, I know I am helping someone who may need to hear what I have to say.
I totally agree with you. And I think what's so cool, and I've said this so many times to other coaches, whether it be life coaches, health coaches, you know, even business coaches, what's so cool is this is the only industry I've found where you can simultaneously be a master at something and be teaching it and getting paid well for it, and also being a work in progress in your own life. And I think by showing that allows us to feel so much more relatable to our audience, to our clients, to anyone around us. But that is not the rest of the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you know what I'm getting at. Like, the rest of the world has this like facade around it of like, in my old life, if I were to post something that wasn't so great, it would make me look like I wasn't a master at my skill.
Right.
So it's an image, right? Of your business, of yourself, of your brand. And you don't want to post something that's not supportive of that, or just, you know, again, we talk about perfectionism that doesn't have that, you know, clean look to it. No, like you said, nobody wants to see us just sitting on our phones and, you know, a blubbering mess, you know, trying to figure out our life. We're all figuring out our life. And, you know, people will look at that and think, well, if she is figuring out her life, why would I hire her to be my coach and blah, blah, blah. But I actually think that by doing this, it's actually not only bringing us more business, but it's also allowing people to just kind of feel real for once. Both us and the people that are watching us go through this. Do you agree?
I completely agree. And at the end of the day, we are all human beings, and the facade that perfectionist facade is just not realistic, and you could pull it off and you can show up that way. But the big thing is people relate and connect to energy, and this word is so overused, but just truly being authentic about what is going on in your current situation. And I know I have invested in coaches. I'm constantly, and I know you are too, in the game of trying to up level and get to the next level. And the coaches that I invest in, the coach that we invested in, she is so open about her own personal struggles. And, she's a manifestation coach. And that being said, she shares like where she's gone wrong with manifestation and like her lowest points and when she's struggling. And for me, it's like, oh my gosh, I relate to that. I want to dive deeper and talk to you more and get to know more. And it just builds that trust and connection.
I totally agree with you. Absolutely. So I guess my question for you is how, because I feel like I struggle with this a lot, is when you are going through it, whether you show it on social media or not, how do you feel like you're not coming off as a fraud with your clients?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I always ask myself whether I'm posting it. Well, my coaching is health and wellness. And for me, it's so much more than the nutrition and the movement, right? It's mental health, it's emotional health, it's spiritual health. And there's no such thing as perfect, like mental health and being happy every day and having amazing emotions. Like that's great if you do. And, but a lot of my clients relate to a lot of, and have reached out to me and have found me on Instagram because I share and I post about my struggles. I have highlights. I have a mental health highlight, me at some of this personal stuff that I've shared about my lowest points and what I've been through. And a client that I've been working with for almost a year now, she has stayed with me because we relate so much. And she is going through a lot of the struggles that I've been through.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's so awesome. I love that you even have it as a highlight that people can go back and look at it. That is so awesome. I think what you're doing, I see a lot more people doing it now. I think because it's becoming more widely accepted on social media. Someone I just can't help but bring up is, I don't know if you follow Ashley Graham.
It sounds so familiar.
She's a supermodel. In her industry, what they used to call her was a plus size model. And that's not a thing anymore. Because she has really changed the game. And, this is her second pregnancy. She showcases herself on social media, completely naked, covering herself a little bit, but, she's got all of the things. And that, and she also has this was the coolest thing ever. During quarantine, she was someone who she kind of went viral because she had a picture of herself with, unshaved armpits. And a razor company reached out to her and said, we want to partner with you and do this whole campaign. So she did this whole campaign with a razor company, and showing I can shave whenever I want to, and today I don't want to, and today I do, and all of these things of just the choice and not feeling like we have to in order to show up a certain way.
Right.
And I'm just loving the vulnerability, not just of her, but also just the energy that she is allowing everybody else to feel and participate in is just so freaking cool.
Right. And going off that, it's like no one can relate to that perfect curated highlight reel. It's great to see, and we love good pictures, and
it's inspirational. We look at a lot of the travel bloggers and we want to see them in these beautiful locations and all these things, and same thing, health coaches, all this stuff. But at the same time, I actually feel like coaches, I don't want to see someone who's perfect all the time, because it doesn't make sense. And especially because you went through the same program I did with Kristen, she was the first person to ever introduce me to feeling all of your feelings. Because in my dance industry, we don't do that. It's not we feel the feelings in a very, aggressive tango or a sexy salsa, but we don't feel the real feelings of I'm jet lagged, I'm tired, my ankle hurts, that's,
you push them aside.
That's it. Yeah. Periods don't exist in the, you have a period. Yeah. That's not a thing. So you just keep going. And so to be able to have her give us permission to feel the feelings. Because you're right, nothing is perfect. No one is going through it and having a happy day every day. And I tell my clients all the time, my tagline is progress, not perfection.
I love
and
it.
so I'm constantly pushing that and giving, allowing themselves to give themselves grace if they didn't accomplish something that day or whatever. Because most of the time we look at ourselves and we see all the things we didn't accomplish, when in reality we accomplished more than most people would in a whole week.
And I could tell we're both perfectionists,
Yeah.
especially people who have very high, hold themselves to high standards, want to get everything done. Our brains, and this is just our brains automatically go to everything that's not working, everything we didn't do, everything that's not right. And so this is where the mindset work and the personal growth and the commitment to yourself and investing in yourself and just holding yourself accountable to be like, okay, I notice that I'm thinking that, I'm being hard on myself and I'm not being perfect, but I don't need to believe everything that I'm thinking right now. I'm going to choose to give myself grace. Giving yourself grace is one of the best gifts you can give yourself, especially for perfectionists like us.
Oh my God, totally. And I use that all the time. And I get so excited when a client, after I've been working with them for a few weeks, just starts saying that and says, well, I did this and this and this, and I didn't do this, but I'm giving myself grace on that this week, and I'm like, oh, they're like, when you start using that terminology to truly, like, it's self-care, it's completely self-care to be able to appreciate who you are and know that today wasn't the day for that.
I could not agree more. And I want to say, like, people think when they hear the term self-care, it's kind of come to, you automatically think of a bubble bath or a face mask, but it's when you can actually, the true self-care is like getting in touch with your feelings and your emotions and connecting to what do you actually need internally.
Self-love.
Self-care, self-love. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Where it all starts.
Yes, it really is. And that is something that, as much as it is exciting to show people all the, like you said, the highlight reel, and, we all want to show up as our best self in this world, not just for everybody else, but for ourselves, but I think, it's become more about showing up to show other people that we're happy, even when we're not, that's when it starts to mess with our mental health a lot.
100%. Yeah. And I think the part of, yes, we want to be our best selves and show our best selves. Part of getting to your best self and broadcasting and showcasing that is the messiness, are the times when you're at your lowest. That's how you get to your best self. So yeah, you can show, that's why I think the journey and the process of getting to your best self, that's why I feel the need almost to showcase all the parts, because that's how you're going to get to where you want to be.
Right. And I think
that's
that
the journey.
Totally. I heard someone talk about this. They related this whole topic about going through it instead of going around it. Because I see a lot of the older generation, they just, again, they know they're going to work this job for 40 years. They're going to retire at the age of whatever. And then they're going to start traveling and doing, like, they still have this kind of mindset. And as millennials, I feel like I call ourselves the transitional generation, because everything has shifted from technology to university to the way that we go about life and everything. And now you see, if you have friends that are Gen Z, that you're like, oh my gosh, like they're doing things in their 20s that I didn't figure out till I was in my 30s. And it's like, this is crazy. I'm starting to see people like go into therapy and understand how to start processing their emotions before they hit the wall. And I'm like, whoa, that's a game changer. Like, that is something that I never even imagine, that like you solve a problem when the problem arises, but preventative problem. And I do that in my health, which I'm curious to ask you, since you're a health coach, you are someone who does probably preventative, you take supplements, you build your immune system, you drink a lot of water, you get good sleep. I mean, for the most part, though, these are things that you want to encourage your clients, and you do. But some people, they only take care of themselves once they're sick.
Right. And that's where it gets messy, because, and here's the thing, and it all connects, whether it's health and wellness related or not. It's like when January 1st comes and everyone's like, okay, new year, new me, I'm going to start when the new year happens. It's like, tomorrow's not guaranteed. You got to start now instead of waiting for when something does happen, or waiting for the job, or waiting for the relationship. If we're talking health and wellness related or not, it start now. Like, in order to be the kind of person you want to be, start right here, right now. Don't wait for January 1st. Don't wait for the relationship. Don't wait for XYZ. Start now. And that's just something I feel like I am consistently putting out there too. And trying to, as I'm going through it as well,
Totally.
start now.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do that, for those who are a little bit more, have been through a little bit more athletic, or like you said, just, fields of health, that we do that in our physical health. But I am starting to see glimmers of it in our mental health, of people who are taking, action and being proactive about understanding that, like, if I don't stop myself now, or if I don't take a break, or if I don't, X, Y, and Z, then I'm going to be burnt out, or I'm going to hit this wall, or whatever. And it's such a refreshing change from, at least my generation for sure, saying like, oh, we hit a wall, now we don't have a choice. You know what I mean? Because even listening to you when you're talking, like you're saying, you were in San Diego and you were just feeling mentally stuck, right? Were there signs leading up to that felt like you were heading in a direction of not knowing where you were wanting to be, and you were going to need a major change? Or did you feel like one day you just woke up and it was like wall?
No, it definitely was a progression, obviously. And this is, some days are going to be better no matter, as a human being.
Sure.
That being said, it was consistently just feeling like I was stagnant. And I think it was the buildup for me. I'm someone who does not do well staying the same. I always need something to look forward to, and some sort of challenge. And so I think it was a consistent days, and then weeks, and then months. And it never got to the point of me being at rock bottom, but I prevented it before it could have gotten to a pretty bad.
So you did catch it a little bit sooner than hitting the wall.
Yeah, I think, I definitely never got, I always call it like that bathroom floor moment of being like over, I never really hit the wall, but I was getting to a place, it felt like. And so it was that gut feeling of take action. And I always say action's the answer. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling uncomfortable, action. And that could look like making a move, or that can look like, if you're overworking, that can mean taking a break. Action is different for everyone, but action is the answer. I always say that.
I love that. That's so great. I've never heard it put that way. Yeah. I literally just put my favorite quote that I say all the time. I put it on my Instagram the other day. If you're unhappy or you need a change or whatever, just move. You're not a tree, you can move,
I saw that. I love that. I love that, because we think that I think I read your caption too. We think we're so stagnant and that we have to keep doing the same things, and we have to live this life, but actually you get to create the life that you want to live. Obviously, you cannot control what's going on externally, and there's COVID and so many other things. That being said, you get to control the way you think, the way you show up, the direction you want to go in. And I think that's such a huge game changer.
Yeah, definitely. No, absolutely. So speaking of, because we don't want to bring up COVID all the time. I mean, listen, it's something that we're all learning to live with, because it's not going to be going away. We're just going to become a world that has it in it. And we all need to learn how to navigate through that, whether you have a vaccine or you don't, or whatever. Like, everyone just needs to kind of find their way with it. But my question for you is not even on a physical side, because you've already even had it. You have antibodies now, like, let's move on. But when it comes to the mental side, that I think is actually the worst for me. I feel more detrimental. I'm not really scared of COVID in and of itself because of the physical side of, being athletic and feeling like I'm taking care of myself, immunity and all of that stuff. But it's more for me, the mental side of things, of countries being shut down every day and then opening and then being shut down. And it's just this like, this mental game, so traveling is limited. Also just feeling like things are shifting all the time. I do live in California right now. Not 100% by choice. My husband has a very successful business here, but California is very high and low. You got to find the pockets of it where it doesn't feel like it's overwhelming you, because then you go to LA County and the whole world is falling apart every single day. And it's just like, I can't deal with that. So how is it on a daily basis that you are maybe helping yourself feel a little bit more secure, or because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, the communities are great, family support, all this stuff, but we have to look out for ourselves. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, we are the only one that knows what we need, both mentally and physically, in order to feel secure and at peace. So I'm sure that you have, as a holistic health coach, which I love that, by the way, because a health coach is great. And I love health coaches, but we're going into this energetic age, and holistic is just something that we all need to wrap our brains around, because it is the future.
So here's the thing. I think habits and how you start your morning and how you start your day is everything. I also think getting your mind right and managing your mind is the foundation, whether we're talking COVID related or not, just to feeling good and prioritizing your mental health. So for me, I wake up, and the first thing that I do is I think of something that I'm grateful for. And I know that everyone says like a gratitude practice. I don't write it down. I honestly want to get my day started, but I prime my mind, and I think of, I have a roof over my head. I literally get to go drink water. I get to go to work. I'm grateful for that. And just starting your day is already getting your mind ready to start seeking out. It's getting your subconscious mind ready to start seeing everything that's going well in your life. Most people wake up and they're anxious and they're moody and they don't want to get up. If you can start your day, whether that's writing a reminder, I also don't go on my phone. I try not to first thing in the morning, to not be reactive. It's extremely difficult. We want to go on, we want to scroll, we want to see who texted us. I'm someone who has struggled with anxiety. Getting on that phone spikes my anxiety. So I take a moment for myself, find something I'm grateful for, something that went well the day before. I've just gotten in the practice of writing down at the end of my days, or at least thinking what went well today. So I'm ending my day like that, and then I'm starting my day like that.
Beautiful.
Managing your mind. I think awareness is the number one thing when it comes to mental health. Noticing which thoughts are serving you and which are not, because I don't know the statistics, but we think thousands of the same thoughts every single day. And if you're not noticing the thoughts that make you feel like shit, you will continue to feel like shit.
Yeah, I say that all the time. So I specialize in sustainable habit building. So I say 80% of our day is habitual behavior.
Yeah.
And that goes into your thoughts as well, because you're on autopilot a lot of the time. I love that you started with habits, because that's something that I preach constantly, is habit building and healthy habit building, which is funny that you brought up the resolutions as well, because I talk about people all the time setting January resolutions, dropping off in February, blah, blah, blah. But I also love that you brought a different side to it, talking about how people wait until January when they should not be waiting.
Right.
Like, go, attack it now.
Right here, right now. And that's the thing. It's the biggest thing to even just like confidence and self-love is consistency in the promises that you keep to yourself. Like if you say you're going to drink a certain amount of water, make sure you're doing that for over a period of time and consistently make yourself proud. I always say this to my clients, make yourself proud, stay consistent. That's how you build confidence. That's how you really become your own biggest fan and start showing up in a completely different way.
Yeah. I mean, I think, first of all, awareness is huge. I love how you mentioned that as well. And also, I don't think that people ask themselves how they show up in the world.
Yes.
They just don't do that enough. And honestly, we can't, rag on everybody, because it's how they were raised. Nobody in the world is teaching this kind of stuff, which is why I encourage people to hire coaches, and how we talk all the time about how much we invest in our own selves, even though we are coaches, and how much we still invest in ourselves, because it is so important to maintain that awareness and that consistency. So having someone holding you accountable is huge, because we get lost. We show it on social media all the time. We show it in real life all the time. Can I ask you, social media sometimes can be, easy to show things because it's an audience that we are somewhat connected to, but there's still a distance, a screen between us. How hard has it been to show up for real in your real life with your family, your friends? And the reason I ask you this is because in my life, I see people are used to seeing me a certain way. Happy, excited, bouncy, all of these kinds of emotions. And so when I'm sad, I tend to not, unless it's like my husband or my brother or maybe my parents, I don't really show them, oh, I'm having a rough day. I'm just like, oh, I'm good. How are you? And I just kind of play the game. Has it been hard to show your real emotions and the vulnerability you show on social media to your audience with your inner circle?
Totally. Yeah. So honestly, for me, I'm very lucky. I'm very close to my sister, to my grandma, to my mom. There are times and days when I'm a little more closed off and not willing to be as open. It's a very different audience, obviously, that close family inner circle, and then just showing up on, your phone, which it may be for me. I know if I pull out my phone and I press record, it's very easy for me to go on a rant and start talking because there's that screen, because it's just, you're talking to your phone.
Well, you don't know these people face to face. They haven't affected you in a direct way.
Right. And so, there are some times and periods of times and days where I'm not willing to be as open, and the conversation or the diving deeper into what's going on, that may come at a later time with my family and whatnot. That being said, I am very lucky to be close to them and open up. So, I would say I'm pretty open to the level that I am on social media with my family. Maybe not at the same time in the same day, but eventually.
Yeah, that's so great. I absolutely love that. Cool. Well, listen, I think that there are so many different ways and different things that we've discussed that we could go. I want you to give maybe just like your final thoughts for those who are trying to find their vulnerability, those who are trying to feel the feels, maybe coaches who are trying to be vulnerable but don't know quite how, or just people who are trying to be vulnerable and just think that the only way to be successful in social media is to be perfect and have this highlight reel, as you call it. I love it. What's your final thoughts for those people?
I always ask myself this one question or more of this thought: you're doing yourself and other people a disservice by not being your authentic, not most vulnerable, but by not opening up. People need to hear the struggle. People want to relate, and it's asking yourself, how do I word this? It's asking yourself, by me keeping whatever I'm going through to myself, who are the people that need to, do you get what I'm trying to say?
You're not serving anybody by not sharing it.
Correct. That's exactly. I don't know why the words were not coming out of my mouth.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. It's like, who's your audience? Who do you want to serve? And understanding that by you opening up, that right there, that's gold. That's what people need to hear. And so it's just taking, once again, it's just like, you got to do it. It's opening up one time, and then opening up the next time. And it
gets easier every time.
It gets easier. There is someone out there, even if it's one person, making one person's day. That's the best feeling ever. It's, the impact.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah, no. And I think that like I said, we're heading into this age right now. We're already in it for a lot of us, but some people are still kind of like resistant, to the realness of it all. But even if you've seen in your fitness world, I don't know if you've been experiencing any new things from a program called Kinergy. Have you heard of Kinergy?
Oh, I've heard of it. I don't know a lot about it, but I've definitely heard of it. Yeah.
So it's from a ballroom dancer, actually from our industry, Julianne Hough, who then became and did all the things with acting and singing and stuff. But she created this expanded fitness, is what she calls it. And it's really about like your energetic health and, your physical health, bringing it together. And she talks about this all the time, that we're going into an energetic, phase of life. Yeah. And it's really all about, she works with all the elements, water, fire, earth, All of a sudden, the fourth one, water, fire,
earth,
air.
air.
I was
Yeah,
like,
air.
what's the fourth one?
I should know this. I'm like in the holistic. Yes, water, fire, earth, air. Yes.
But she talks about that and how that affects us and kind of like that human design of who we are, kind of thing. And I think that is carrying over into social media. It's easy for everyone to put a little black square on their social media and say Black Lives Matter and, push that and all of that. And I 100% support that, like all of those things. And I think that's amazing that we're all able to share so openly, our support for so many communities. But I think the biggest support that so many people are not doing is showing up for themselves and supporting themselves.
Yeah.
Being
I always say,
cheerleader.
Making yourself proud. I always say you cannot show up for other people if you're not showing up for yourself. And that's why habits and making yourself proud. And it's the small things. Everyone says this, everyone knows this, they read it, you scroll on Instagram, the daily habits, the small things, right? But it truly makes the biggest difference in how you show up, and the way you show up for yourself is going to impact everyone else around you.
Absolutely. Yes. That's what it's about. I love that. Thank you so much. You are seriously like helping so many people with what your words, with your energy, with just how you show up for yourself and how you show up for everybody else. And I wish you so much success. We're still going to be in touch and everything, but I wish you so much success in your journey and finding, where it is that you need to be. And if you need to come back to this side of the US, girl.
Yes, honestly,
I got you.
I can't wait for the day we meet. Well, thank you. That means so much. And eventually we'll meet when the time comes. But yeah, social media, it's awesome that we even connected through. You never know who you're going to meet. I just want to say this: invest in yourself, say yes to opportunities. I was so hesitant to invest in this course. Yeah. We've connected. I've met so many amazing people. It's gotten me to the next step.
That's the thing. Social media is not all bad. It can be great when you use it as a platform to authentically connect with people. And that's what we've been doing. And that's what we do in our business and in everything else. And so that's what we're encouraging you to do for anyone listening, is just like, use it to not create the highlight reel, use it to be real. And throw some fun things in there when you're having a good time, when you're being great, when you're having a birthday, whatever. Yes, of course. But also don't just, ghost it when you aren't feeling great, because those are the defining moments and the growth that is not only going to help you show up for yourself, but it's also going to help someone else that is watching it.
I could not agree more. The messiness is magic. The ups, the downs, everything. Yeah, use Instagram as a social media as a tool, and it can be good. Audit who you follow too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Awesome.
So fun.
You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Recovering Perfectionist Podcast. I'm Christine, and if this episode resonated with you or spoke to you in any way, please feel free to share. I absolutely love hearing from you guys and your thoughts about the topics based on your experiences. And also, if there's anything you want me to talk about, just screenshot this episode and share it on social media with your comments. Your feedback really helps me to curate episodes that best serve you. If you have time, I would greatly appreciate if you could leave a review wherever you're listening to this episode, whether on Apple or Spotify or any other platform. I'm wishing you a blessed week ahead, and remember, perfection doesn't exist. Take messy action. Healthy habits keep us balanced, and you are enough.